Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia and today I wanted to talk about the apps that we use to help us maintain our monthly budget as well as the accounts that we have for our checking and savings, because I know when I do the weekly check-ins it could be quite confusing, so I wanted to have a video that I could always reference to and that will go over everything in depth, just so I don't have to spend an additional however many minutes every single video talking about it. So this will be my go-to video to reference in case you guys were curious about the apps that I use, as well as how our accounts are set up and also why we use credit cards. So yes, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. So I have my monthly budget pulled up here. This was set up in a previous video for the April budget. And then I also do have an Erin Condren softbound that I picked up during the warehouse sale. And this was the Wonder Woman one. I absolutely love this one. I actually got a second one, so I have two of these because I love how this one looks in the gold and the white. But I did already go ahead and map out the accounts that we have, so I can go through them, and I will explain this more in depth later on. But first, I'm going to go ahead and talk about why we use credit cards. So the reason why we started using credit cards is, first, we never really carry around cash like that. We always found it difficult for us to go to the bank to withdraw more cash or make sure we have cash and other denominations, carrying around coins, all of that stuff. Because I usually only carry my phone, and my husband carries my ID because he has all the cards that we use. But besides the discomfort of using cash, we also decided to start using credit cards to help build our credit, because there was a lot of things that we wanted to do, like purchasing a car or a house, and we had to really build up our credit to be able to qualify for those things and also to qualify for a really good interest and what have you. So that is one of the reasons why, as well as we get 2% cash back off of everything. So last year I did redeem the rewards at one point. That's not in this one, but we did also redeem our cash back as well earlier this year. I believe it was in like maybe February or so. It was around $250. Whenever I redeem it, I will be telling you guys from now on. I believe in that account we have like $100 now already accumulated. So it's just something that really works for us because we use our credit card for absolutely everything. And if you guys did watch the April budget with me, you guys will know that I try to hook up as many credit cards as I can as well. Since we're already paying these bills, if we're able to hook up our credit card without paying any additional penalties or fees, then we definitely do, because it's kind of like getting 2% cash back for our bills as well. You'll see some of these don't have a C next to it. It's because we couldn't pay with our credit card, or the fee overweighed the reward, so there was no point of us doing so. But that's kind of what this is and kind of how we have it. So this also, with our bills every month, helps us accumulate more cash back. But yes, that is the reason why we do credit cards, and it's just something that we've been comfortable with. We've been using credit cards for years now as our main way of paying. But of course, if you don't want to use credit cards, but you also don't want to use cash, you can also do the same thing with a debit card. So whatever works, but this is just what works for our family and what's been really helping us. All right, so moving on to the next thing is I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the apps that we use. So if you guys have watched my weekly check-in, I did already run through this a bit, but of course I do want to go more in depth with this in here as well. So the two apps that I use is the multi-budget application as well as the daily budget. These two apps I found while searching for so many different apps that did not require me to hook up my accounts, because I really don't like hooking up my bank accounts to these apps. I usually like something very simple and I can just do whatever that makes sense to me. The reason why I use both of these apps is because one of them is kind of like my electronic cash envelopes, so I can keep track of how much I have left for the month. And for the multi-budget, the cash envelope, the electronic cash envelopes, when I click on it, these are the categories that I have. The person who created this app, there's a limit to only 6 envelopes at a time, but luckily for us, it usually works out because we usually only have 5 every single month. And that is the groceries, eating out, gas, allowance, and pups. For this month, I did have date in there, but I won't from now on. I just wanted to add something just so you guys don't get bored of my monthly budget. it just doesn't work for us. I'm not used to it, so this kind of really threw me off this month. So next month I'm not gonna have that. But in here you'll see that there's groceries, eating out, gas allowance, and pups. I think when I start doing my monthly budgets, I'm gonna set this up with you guys. At least try to set it up with you guys if the timing is right. But you guys will see that when the month starts, groceries would have had 400, eating out would have had 300, so on and so forth. As of today's date, we only have $120 left in our groceries. Eating out would have 158. So that's kind of why I like using this. So if I'm not doing a weekly check-in, it's in the middle of the week, and I'm just like, wait a second, how much do I have in there again? I can just pull up this app and I'll be able to see it. And this is, of course, extra. I started doing this maybe a year ago because I realized we kept going over budget for a couple of the months. So I thought using this would help us, and I actually really like it. So how this one works is after you set up the amounts, as you spend it, all I do is I click on it. Let's say I spent $20 for eating out at some place. I can just go ahead and put update and it'll automatically deduct the $20. So now it's set to, I only have 138 for the month. So that's kind of all I use this app for. I think you have like other options to set like income and stuff, but I don't really do any of that. I use it just literally for the applications here to keep track. So the second app that we use is Daily Budget. So for Daily Budget, you're able to also put income and everything too, so you're never in the orange, but I'm always in the orange because I never put in income for this. I literally use it just like the multi-budget to just track our expenses. So right now, as of today, we've spent $17.78 so far for the month. This is very high compared to usually, but if you saw our weekly check-in, you'll know that it's because we had a bunch of different like car maintenance, car insurance, all these different things come out. So that's kind of why it was more than usually. But in here, it's the same thing. Let's say we just got gas. So gas, let's say, is $20. I would click on the little minus, and then I'll say, click on the gas, and I'll put $20 in here. And then I'll leave it as gas. I usually never change it. But of course, you're going to put where you got it from. I know some people like to put the place that they went to go get gas. I personally just leave it as gas. And then once I click on save, you'll see that it went up by $20. So we spent an extra $20 this month for gas. For transactions, you'll also see that it shows up for today, Saturday, the 17th, gas for $20. We didn't spend gas, so I'm actually going to delete this real quick so I don't forget. And using this is also how I keep track of what we spent from our sinking funds, as well as from our monthly budget, from the monthly budget categories here. This is also how I keep track of them. So how this works is going back to the balance and then the transactions here. I'm actually going to edit this real quick because I have two shoppings. If you see here, I'm going to delete this one. So I'm not sure why that one I can't delete, but the shopping one with the hanger I can delete. I just deleted it. I don't know if that did anything with my transactions. Oh, it automatically changed to the other shopping. Okay, that works. So now I don't have a duplicate. I have no idea why I was doing that, but that works. So now I only have one shopping. I'm going to go ahead and delete these other ones too because I don't even use these anymore. So I'm going to delete that one. I'm going to delete the me one. Let me delete other. And then I want to leave these ones. So these are like my normal 5 categories for pub, shopping, gas, groceries, food. I realized that for my extra category this month for date, I had it under other, but I already deleted it, so I'm just gonna leave it alone. It's okay because I wrote that to date. I'll go over that in the weekly check-in. But besides that, so now I have all my normal categories for food, groceries, gas, shopping, pubs. I have unbudgeted, and also when I do my sinking funds. So that is what this looks like. You're always able to edit the icons, change them. I like to put these symbols there just so it's easier for me to find them. It's easier for my eyes, I guess you could say. But going back to transactions, now you see they all have the little icon that you picked. So for groceries, I have these little shopping carts here. For gas, I have like the gas filler. For sinking funds, I have the homes little icons. You get to pick whatever you want, and that's kind of how I use these apps, and it's easy for me. And in my weekly check-ins, you'll see me use both of the apps to check in for my monthly budget, but that is overall how I use this application, as well as what all the different categories means for each thing, and how you would also edit the different categories and stuff, as well as why mine's always in the negative because I never add like an income in here. You can also edit these incomes for bonus, extra income, sale, investment. I've never adjusted this because I don't add income on here, but you're also able to do that as well. This app seems to have a lot of different functionalities, but you can also upgrade it, but I tend to just use it just for that, the tracking purposes of it. That's what makes sense in my brain. Of course, there's a lot of different applications out there, so you can definitely use what works for you and what makes sense to you. But those apps I found works the best for us in how our family does things. Yeah, so moving on to the last thing that I wanted to talk about was, of course, our accounts, our checking and savings accounts. Because I know for sure this might be confusing because the way we do it is also quite different as well. So you'll know for our monthly budget, if you watched my April budget with me or any future monthly budget with me, you'll know that I like to separate up all of our bills down here for fixed bills and variable bills. All of these I like to calculate and kind of calculate to a rounded up amount. So for the month of April, for all of our bills, we would have needed $3,100 to pay for all of them. And then I also found out all the bill amounts, so I wrote them down here. I haven't done the variances in the amounts yet, but this is what we would have needed in our estimated budget to pay for all of our bills for April. And then I have my monthly budget over here, which are those categories that were in the electronic multi-budget app. For groceries, eating out, gas allowance, pubs, these are the ones that we use all the time, every single month, what we usually spend on a daily basis for necessities or whatever it is. This is what I call our monthly budget categories, but for short, I just say monthly budget, but I realize that could be confusing when I talk about doing my monthly budget. But yeah, so that's just been something that I've just been known to call it by, but these are my monthly budget categories for the things that we use. These categories here is also what we weekly check in for. So that is when I do the weekly check-ins, you'll see. And it is also what we track in our monthly calendar view as well. So besides that, you would have seen that we have a sinking fund. So we put $900 to sinking funds. For our sinking funds as well, we have an amount in here. For sinking funds, every month we start off with a certain amount and then I add a certain amount. So for the month of April, we added $900. So the total for these categories combined would have been $48.95 to start with. Just like how you saw bills, we had $3,100 to start off with for bills. Monthly budget, we had $10.50. Every month varies, so do feel free to watch the monthly budget for April or May, June, whatever video that you're curious about, and those numbers will be accurate. These numbers are just for the ones for April, so if it doesn't match with the video that is referencing this one, just know that these are example amounts and I'm using April as a reference. For these different categories, I used to want to have a checking account for each individual one. So for bills, a checking account specifically for bill money, which would start with $3,100 for the month. Same with monthly budget, it would start with $10.50 or whatever we calculate it for. Same with sinking funds, whatever that starting amount for the month is. But I ended up lumping everything together into one checking account, and I actually got used to it. So I'm actually set with just having that one checking account with having all of the accounts in them, especially because I use this spread to balance out every single category. I'm actually really comfortable with using just one checking account for it, and because of that, we also don't have to worry about those checking stipulations of having a direct deposit or an average amount for the month or whatever those is, so we don't incur any fees, because I just hate fees for anything. That is why we just use one checking account for this. So let's go ahead and talk about our checking accounts. For our checking accounts, we have 2 checking accounts and we have 2 saving accounts. The checking account that holds our monthly budget amount, our bills, and our sinking funds amount is our second checking account. So we have 2 checking accounts that are joint together. Of course, Dustin has his own account, I have my own account, just so we can save some money for ourselves, so we can like buy each other gifts and surprises or whatever, or treat each other without it being from the same account, and we see what the other person's spending. So that's kind of why we used to not have our own accounts, but now we do, and it's actually really nice. So we can always treat each other without the other person knowing how much we spent or whatever it is. But yes, so we have 2 checking accounts that are joined, and these are our ones that I will always be referencing to when we talk about our monthly budget. The second checking account is the one that you'll see has our monthly budget in there, our bills and our sinking funds. Bills, monthly budget, sinking funds. And again, bills is our estimated bill money. So this is the total for all of our fixed bills, and all of our estimates for our variable bills added together is $3,100. So that is our total for bills. Then we have our monthly budget up here, which are budgeted amount for all of our monthly budget categories, which is $10.50 for the month of April. And you'll see those here for bills, $3,100, monthly budget, $10.50. And then for sinking funds, which was the amount of the $900 that we added to our sinking funds, as well as the starting amount, which is $31.95 plus $900. So for the start of April, combined for all 3 categories, it is $90.45. Currently in our second checking account, we only have $74.23. And you'll see that number matches here, $74.23. The reason why it's $74.23 now and not $90.45 is because we already calculated for a week 1 check-in, and this is all the money that we spent from week 1. So now our new balance is $74.23. And of course, this will go down again because I will be filming my week 2 check-in, and my week 2 check-in will be coming up on Thursday or Wednesday, one of those days. So besides the second check-in, we have our first check-in. Our first check-in is the one that we use to fund our credit card. We use it for like if we have to write out checks or something, the money comes out of here. And this is our this is basically the account that we use to put all money that we spent. The reason why I do that is because, as you know, for checks, when you write out a check, it could take a while before the money comes out. Same with if you pay your credit card, it could take like 3 business days or so for the money to come out. And because of those waiting periods, and when I do my budget, if the timing isn't right, our budget will be miscalculated. And that's why I really like having a checking account, just to have our credit card linked to and any outgoing money linked to for the most part, because that means the money that's in here I don't account for. I will usually calculate this out like maybe once every few months or so, because we tend to have extra money in here. And the reason why we have extra money in here is because when we spend stuff, I always round up to the next dollar. So even if we spend $10.01, I'll round up to $11. So that's kind of why we usually end up having extra money in here, which is also very nice. Until then, all the money in our first checking account, we completely ignore. We think of it as money that's going to be going to pay a credit card. We never really write checks, but it's just an example. The money's going to be going to pay like a credit card, or if I do a transfer to our external savings account, I put the money in here because our external savings account, it takes a few business days as well to take out the money. When I make a transfer, I put the money in here immediately, pretending that it's already out. So even if it takes like 3 to 5 business days, the money will be in here readily available to get transferred out. And it's not like I'll touch it because I'm already thinking in my head whatever money's in this first checking account is already gone. I hope that makes sense because before we did this, I would always miscalculate because I'll forget that I made like some type of credit card payment. I'll forget that we made a transfer to the check savings account. I'll forget whatever transaction it was because I don't see it, and then I'll think that the money in there is the real amount, and it always ended up in incorrect numbers every now and then. So I just really didn't like that, and using a checking account specifically for the spent money has been very, very helpful for us since we don't budget with cash and we only pay with our credit card. I'm thinking that, of course, this will be extremely different if you use a debit card. You won't need to make any transfers to pay a credit card because everything's going to be coming out immediately with your debit card. But for us, using a credit card only, having these 2 accounts and budgeting that way we have has been working very well for us. Besides the 2 checking accounts, we have our two savings accounts as well. We have one that is a short-term savings. This savings account is in the same institution as our checking accounts. So this one is very easily accessed with our checking accounts because they're all in the same institution. So if we make a transfer, it happens immediately. And then we do have a long-term savings account where this one is located at a different institution. This one's for longer term savings goals. We try to never ever touch this savings account. It is our emergency fund or really big transaction account. So this is what our long-term savings is, and this is located at a different institution. So this is the one where, let's say I transfer $200 for the month. I'll put the $200 in our first checking account, so it's kind of like we already spent it. So our long-term savings account, when it gets transferred, if it takes like 2, 3, 4, whatever days, business days, that money will be able to go to our long-term savings account at a different institution. For our short-term savings, this is our small savings. I usually try to have like 1,000 or so in there, or maybe more if we're planning for something. We can save more in this one. This is also kind of where we put our money to for the next month. So let's say I get paid, I transfer a certain amount into the savings account. Since you guys may or may not know, whatever money comes in for the month, we use it to budget for our following month. So we have all of the money ready. So let's say, for example, for the month of April, we get 4 paychecks between me and Dustin, and each one's $1,000. I would transfer 1,000, then he would transfer 1,000 when he gets paid. So all 4 of those checks, we would transfer $1,000 over to our short-term savings account. So when May begins, we already have the money ready to do our monthly balance. So everything that we account for, everything that we want to transfer to, all the money that we need for the month of May, we already have. So that's kind of how our checking and saving accounts are laid out. So I'm going to go ahead and touch base a little bit more about our second checking as well as our credit card. Going back to our monthly budget, you'll see for our monthly budget and sinking funds, for the most part, we always pay with credit card for our monthly budget and sinking funds. If we ever have to pay with cash, I don't really put that in my budget, because if I were to withdraw cash, I would probably just put like $50 withdrawn. If I ever take out cash, I will for sure budget that, and you guys will see how I do it, but for the most part, we always pay with credit card. After our week 1 check-in, for monthly budget and sinking funds, this total, the 306 and the 945, will always end up getting transferred from our second checking account to our primary checking account, because we have to pay our credit card. So that money will get transferred over at the end of each week's monthly balance, and then I can go ahead and pay with our credit card with the funds in this account. For our bills, it's the same depending if it was paid with a credit card. So that is why I like to put which one comes out of our credit card in our monthly budget. So you'll see the ones that have a C next to it, those are paid with credit cards. So those amounts I will have to for sure transfer from my second checking account to our primary, because these were paid with credit card. The ones that are not paid with credit card because I can't hook it up, like student loans for a mortgage especially, these will come out directly from our second checking account. Once they get paid, and they actually get paid, they will automatically be taken out of our second checking account. So I will see the deducted amount, and of course I'll be like, why is it less? And I'll go in and I'll see the transaction, like, oh, our mortgage was taken out, oh, our HOA was taken out, oh, our utilities electric was paid out, or whatever. And I'll be able to calculate that for our weekly balance as well. And you guys will for sure be able to see more of how everything works when I do my weekly check-in. Hopefully after watching this video and then watching the weekly check-in, it will make more sense for sure. But that is actually gonna be it for this video. I hope that you guys did enjoy it. I hope that this video was helpful. If you guys have any questions, do feel free to leave a comment below, and I'll try my best to reach back out. I've been kind of sucking with my comments. Work has been busy. Life's been busy in general currently, so I've just kind of been all over the place, but what else is new in a sense? I hope that you guys have a wonderful day. I hope you guys have a happy Easter as well, and I hope to see you guys on my next video. Bye!